The main idea for writing down equations is going to be, I'm going to give you guys will be given stuff like this. Where you'll know that you'll have a circle. If you're given that you have a circle,
wait, what section is it?
it's the same stuff, 10-6 though. I don't think you really need. Okay.
I forget if it's
Well, what'll be nice is that when you guys start going through, you'll have your calculator. If you don't have your calculator, if I don't let you use this one, I will give you the formulas. So you will at least see, and what I normally do with the formula stuff for these is that I will quite literally take this image and put it on a smart file and print out that half sheet of paper. And that's what I would do. So that way you've got the picture of what it looks like, you know the directions, you know all that stuff. So it's just a matter of what, pretty much. But the idea that I want you guys to grasp really is what does the A, B, and C stand for? And it's the same thing for all of them. When we're graphing these things or we're writing equations, circles are obviously going to be the easiest of them all. There are these two forms here. This format here we'll talk more about tomorrow because you can do that with any of the conic sections. It has a couple of things to it. Not worried about it today. I'll show you what that's going to do tomorrow. So if I have a circle with at the center of 4, -1, and a radius is 7, all I quite literally have to do is this: x minus 4 quantity squared plus y plus 1 quantity squared equals 7 squared, otherwise known as 49. And I go to the next problem.
Wait, can you translate?
That's it. That's all you gotta do. That's.
The negative comments?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What?
Like, do you mean like in the next place of the test or whatever?
If I ask you to write the equation of a circle given that information, that's all you gotta write. That's it. You don't have to rewrite it and go from there. What's that?
You scroll below the things you don't know.
Oh, that's all it was. It was just a circle with a radius of that. I mean, that's all it was. Okay? As you go through these things, it's just a matter of having a formula in front of you and then filling in the blanks. Okay? Circles, obviously, the easiest because it's just radius and you go from there. Okay? The other ones are the ones that take a couple more minutes to go through. You have to remember where all the parts came from, what the distances mean, and things like that. So what I want to do is do an example of the other three, and it does, like I said, it does not take very long to get through these. All right. Now, technically, you don't really need to know if it's an ellipse or a hyperbola, because when you get these problems, the first thing I'm always going to want you guys to do is to draw a rough sketch idea of what it is. That allows you to do two things. First of all, it helps you figure out what the shape is going to be, and secondly, it tells you what direction it's being moved. It's very, very visual. Now, math is one of those crazy boring things. It's not all, it's a lot of theory and all that, but the minute you can put two things to it, like with a visual as well as the formulaic stuff, it becomes a lot easier to see what's going on. Excuse me. Remember the one thing we talked about, no matter what, your vertice will always look towards its focus. Whether it was a parabola, the vertex looked up at its focus, an ellipse, the vertices both looked inward at a focus, and a hyperbola, the vertices looked outward at a focus. So if you remember those little bits, it's very easy to set the rest of this up. So you just start with the graph. Foci at 2, -4, and 5, -4. There's 2, and here's 5. Knowing that it's an ellipse, which direction can you tell right away? Which way is it being stretched? Yeah, it's being stretched left and right because your foci are left and right. So you know that's going to happen. You know it's going to be an ellipse stretched left and right. So I look at my formula. Remember how you hit the button again, apps, and go through there? I'm going to drag this over so I know which one to look at. If it's being stretched left and right, that means I'm going to worry about it being x squared. Right? Now, first thing I'm going to do is, after I do that, I'm going to plot the vertices. The vertices were at -1 and -4. And 8. So 5, 6, 7, 8. And it's going to do this. Okay. What we have to identify is the center. Now, the center is always going to be the midpoint of any of these points. It's the midpoint of the foci, it's the midpoint of the vertices, it's the midpoint of a co-vertice. No matter which one it is, the center will always be the midpoint of all of those. So, what is 2 plus 5? What's half of 7? 3.5. So I know that I'm going to have a center, my HK, at 3.5 and -4. If I did it with the vertices, what's -1 plus 8? What's half of 7? 3.5. It'll work. It always works. Okay. How far is 3.5 from 5? How much? 1.5, right? So the distance from the center to the focus is which value? Is it an A, a B, or a C? C, Gatewood. I also know the distance from the center to the vertex is that either A or B? A. Well, going from the center to the vertex from 3.5 to 7, I'm sorry, not 3.5 to 7, it was 3.5 to 8 is how much? 4.5. An ellipse has plus between the two fractions, which means when we solve for c squared, it's going to have what between the two? Minus it. See how it's just flip-flop. So c squared minus b squared. So we take 1.5 squared is 4.5 squared minus something squared. Well, moving things around, and that's how you find b squared. Do I need to worry about what b is? Do I have to plot it? Do I have to graph it? Nope. I just got to figure out what, I have my h and k. I already figured out what a was. Now I just got to find out b squared. It's just working backwards. So let's see here. $18. Convenient. I've done this problem already today. So b squared is 18, and a squared, I believe, was 20.25. Just put it all together. It was stretched left and right, which means the a squared is underneath the x. So x minus 3.5, 20 squared over 20.25. That's y plus 4, 20 squared over 18 is 1. You're done. It all stems back from remembering what things stand for. Remember, A is center to vertex, B center to co-vertex, C is center to foci. As long as you keep that together, it's easy. Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Pretty much. Can I go to another one?
Yep.
Let's do the parabola. Parabola and a focus. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What?
How'd you get the center on the last problem?
Oh, whenever you have your foci or your vertices or anything, the center is always the midpoint of any of those two sets. Whether you have the vertices, just find the midpoint. Foci, find the midpoint. It's coverts, find the midpoint. Because you know that the way we graphed it out, they're all on the same y value, because there was a stretch left and right. So you know that that y value is going to be -4. The other one was just because we did, what was it, 1 plus, or -1 and 8, 7. What's half of 7? 3.5. Okay. That's all it is. I can take your time.
I'm in the bathroom.
I didn't put it anywhere. Hey, what do you think your first thing's going to do? Rough graph. Yep. Which way is it opening? It's opening downward. So if it's opening downward, remember your vertex is always going to look at a focus. Is it an x squared or a y squared? X squared. X squared parabolas are up like a cup or down like a frown.
Oh yeah.
The y squareds are left and right. Okay? So this, we know it's going to be an x squared parabola. So I hit my button that says apps, conics, and I look at my parabola. The vertex for a parabola is the center. There's H and K. I know it's going to be here. The distance from the center to the focus is your value of P. Well, how far apart is the vertex and focus? It's 2 away, but since it's opening downward, is that going to be a positive or a negative 2? -2, very good. So our P value here is -2. And again, it is quite literally filling in the blanks. If you were given a directrix and you knew it was opening downward, your directrix would have been placed at 0. That distance was a positive distance, but it's opening downward, so it would be the opposite. So that's why we got to remember, if it's down, it's negative. It's up, it's positive. If you're facing left, what's your P value? Yeah, left. It's weird to say that using your right hand. So you fill in the blanks. X minus 3 quantity squared is -8. Y plus 2.
So the directrix, what would that be?
If you give it directrix, it would say y equals 0. That's all. And it's just a matter of remembering how to draw a graph. Yes. Remembering how to graph a line given an x or a y value. Yes, sir. What's 2 times 4? -2 times 4. I just skipped that step out, that's all. You guys what? You guys all wait for it to get more difficult?
No, I'm completely fine with
Okay. Worry, hey, sometimes I worry about it. And hyperbola. When you got the hyperbola then, excuse me. Ugh. Again, start with just the real basic. Plot it, figure out which direction it's going. And then you'll be able to figure out your center and go from there. A lot of times it's a pretty dead giveaway when you have all the same x value in the ordered pairs or all the same y value in the ordered pairs to allow you to figure out what direction it's going. So we have hyperbola with foci at 5, 2, 5, -6, vertices at 5, 0, and 5, -4. direction is this going? It's going up and down. It's always looking at the focus. Okay? What's that? Yeah. But when I'm writing the equation, do I need to do all that work? I just have to identify A and B, really. Yeah, it's just so that we know which way it's opening. Because now that I know which way it's opening, I look at my hyperbola, and I know that in a hyperbola, the y value will come first now because it's up and down. That's what it's allowing me to do. It just makes my life easier. Do I need to tell you that it's a hyperbola to do this? If you know that your focus is, that your vertex always looks at a focus, you don't need to know what shape it is. So that's something I usually do. I don't tell you what it is. Okay, and that's why coming in, by drawing that out, it would look like that. That's why. Yeah, right the equation. Popcorn, bring it up.
So the center is the point directly between the two points.
Yep. It's the center is the point. It's always the midpoint of your vertices. It's always the midpoint of your co-vertices, and it's also always the midpoint of your foci, no matter what shape it is. Except for, well, I should say except for the parabola, the center is always the vertex because it's the same. It's equidistant to the focus and the director. It's the same thing. So what is -4 plus 0? What's half of -4? 2. -2. So I know that my center is at 5, -2. How far is it from here to the vertex? So my A value is 2. The center to the focus is the C value. How far was that? 4. So C squared is A squared plus B squared. But if you think about it, the only thing you have to remember, what's A, B, and C stand for? That's it. The rest of it just falls into place. I'm going to give you the formulas, and if you just, all right, you need to know what A, B, and C is, and then the only other thing you have to remember is that the A squared, B squared part is the opposite of whatever the sign of the formula is. That's all you have to remember. It is pretty straightforward. Okay. So 16 is 4 plus what? 12. So your B squared is 12. And you fill in the blanks. Here's one thing that you will screw up. The answer is y plus 2 quantity squared over 4 minus x minus 5 quantity squared over 12. What you're going to screw up is that right there. Anytime the y value comes first, you're going to write it as hk instead of kh. Be careful. That is the biggest mistake you guys will make. You will flip a sign, you will flip-flop a value because you just didn't read it carefully, okay? If that question was write the equation of the conic section that looks with this stuff, you could, but that wouldn't be as much fun. We still have a bunch of other stuff to look at. We're not even done. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about it. Yes, sir.
So if we mix teaching here
Depends on what the question is asking. I don't know. Hey, I'm so glad you're not dead. That's a movie reference.
Oh my
Reference.
God.
You got it? I'm so glad you were not dead. Indiana Jones. Saul says it to him. First one? Raiders?
That's awful though.
So the stuff that we're going to work towards then the stuff that we're going to work towards is going to be stuff that looks like this. Where, oh, I don't want to scare you to death. That's what that negative the other dude.
Thank you.
What we're working towards is that, oop, that didn't work, is that I want us to be able to take this, and what we're going to do is graph and label everything. When it's a graph and label everything, it means center, vertex, co-vertex, foci, asymptotes if needed, things like that. Yeah.
Wait, is this today? Is it part of
We're going to start working toward, this is going to be a bit towards tomorrow. We're a little bit ahead of where I was at second hour, so I'm going to walk you through basically what it's going to
But we're not
be.
doing this on the guys' homework?
I might give you one.
Wait, is that all? We already know.
Then what?
Wait, so we're at.
Yeah, it's weird.
Why would
So here's what happens. What they do here is they put this into a descending order. What you're going to do is you're going to create perfect squares out of it. No, I have like 7 questions to add on to it. If you're going to complete the square, what's the first rule of completing the square? What's your value of A? What does it have to be? 1. You can't complete the square unless the A value is 1. So here you take out a GCF of the 9, you have x squared plus 4x plus blank. Here I take out the negative 4, I have y squared plus 6y plus blank. I took out a 9, and then I put back in the 4 as well to keep everything balanced. So it's not that it's very difficult, but it's the idea that why we use completing the square is because we can set up and use conics. You can do all this conic stuff with that. And this, one thing you guys will notice that I see every year, the worst our numbers usually work out to be are halvesies and quarters. We don't normally get crazy values. If you're getting crazy, absolutely nasty, gnarly looking values, you done goofed. Start over, okay? This is also one of those sections that people accidentally, since it's the way things are written in the book, that people accidentally write down different parts of different problems on. It happens all the time. Please be careful when you're writing down your homework stuff here. Now, when you complete the square, after you get rid of your A value, you take half of B. Where did that half of B value drop?
Wait, why is that me? Like in the first time
When we completed the square, we did that. We put in blanks. Because that way we knew that's what we were adding into both sides. That was a place value for us that we knew that's where something was going to go. At least that's what how I always wrote it as. So this would be a 9. What's half of 4? You square it, what do you get? I put a 4 here, and I put a 4 here. That's where that was going. What's half of 6? I square it, and what do you get? 9 here, and a 9 there. And you'll see then numbers don't work out all that terrible. You get, and now it's very similar to when we set up, what was the first day of hyperbolus when you had to divide stuff out? Just divide it out. Divide everything by 36. And obviously it's a hyperbola because it's subtractions. And then you can go from there and graph it. So you're going to be completing the square off of that to set those up. Okay. That's a lot of simplifying. What's that? And notice I did not get crazy numbers. I got numbers that look pseudo-normal. Guess what happens a lot of times? You get pseudo-normal numbers. You don't get real crazy stuff. So if you're getting answers of like negative 1104 over 2, well, 1104 over 3.
Mom has some phobia, like trauma, and psychiatrist, like 8 years now, and they're like, why can't you look at multiple numbers? I don't know.
Do these 13 through 20. They're on the page prior to what you guys were on the same page you guys did the other day. Was it 628, I believe?
So can we just put them with?
Yeah, same things.
What if we wrote your notes on
That's fine.
the last one?
That sounds like a huge
I have it up here on the board so you can take a picture of it if you like.
That's what I said.
Yes, great picture, you see? Okay,
I did-
that's fine.
So go ahead. You guys got a good 15 minutes. You're gonna be able to get through at least half of these. First hour or second hour flew right through it. I mean, people are almost done with them too. Okay.